Restaurant on the day of the incident that has not talked to police, that there's still time for them to come forward.
Chances are, if you've been in Tucson a while, you remember this case. It's one that gripped the Tucson community as a suspect walked into a restaurant to shoot and kill a prominent local businessman. And nearly 14 years later, still no answers on who killed Thomas Piazza. In this week's Crime Files, we sit down with detectives to talk about any new leads in the case and why it still has Tucsonans shaken up.
In this case, it was just people having a meeting and then the violence just happened. Yeah, unique in that way, very much.
June 10th, 2010. Thomas Piazza was sitting in the lobby of the Chick-fil-A restaurant on Oracle for a Christian Business Network meeting when someone walked in, shot him in the head, and took off on a bike. At the time, these photos were released from surveillance video showing the suspect. Almost 14 years later, the suspect's identity is still unknown.
That's the hard part in this case, is that there hasn't been a lot of information coming forward. Mr. Piazza himself was rooted in the community, had been in Tucson for a significant amount of time, and had touched a variety of groups in the community.
But Tucson police detectives are still working hard to crack this case, and they remain hopeful, especially because
recently there's been information that has allowed detectives to consider persons of interest in connection with this incident through information from the community.
But there's still work to be done, and the detectives welcome any new information that can help them. In 2011, we spoke with Piazza's wife, whose plea then is still mirrored today by many in the community.
I didn't want him to be forgotten about, and I know that people have information about it, and I thought maybe now they would be willing to come forward.
There was a lot of speculation about why Piazza was targeted, but detectives tell me there's been no motive established.
At this point, and from everything that's occurred since 2010, we don't believe it was a random act. As far as areas of Mr. Piazza's life that may have caused a motive, or we haven't identified the motive, but during the investigation and background into his life, we didn't uncover anything that would lead us to believe that it was relationships or dealings with people in his personal life that put him, in a situation where somebody wanted to, kill him.
And so the plea continues, as it's just as hard now as it was 14 years ago to make sense of this killing.
I'm sure the suspect has either provided information to somebody else, or a person may have suspicions about a certain person doing this. Just based on the characteristics of what happened, there are definitely people out there that know more details and possibly even who committed this crime.
It would mean everything. If they just wanted to come forward and say, this is what happened, we don't know who, but this was why, that would even help us. And it would help my kids, because they're going to wonder this forever.
If you have any information about Tom Piazza's death, or you happen to be in or around the restaurant that day and can help, please call 88 Crime.